Well, it's time to start the show.
Like Jacob Weir or Zach Butter's mate Watkins, even Mead and a few of the others. So, I mean, whilst it's disappointing to lose the matches, there's certainly an opportunity to be learning from it, and that they don't want to. Like, given that Tasmania's coming in 2 years, they don't want to cut too deep because
you're absolutely right there.
next year's draft is important, and the year after we've got hopefully Zampa's pilot and what is his name? Son of Salopek. I can't think.
Oh yes. So I forget his. No, I don't know his name.
But they're the two players that Port would hopefully pick up the year after. So yeah, the problem is they don't want to cut too deep. But there's a few blokes that are they're not AFL quality. Like for me, not McEntee. Can't think of his name now. The fella it's got a lot of pace. Plays on the wing. He got picked up in the last year's mid-season draft. He kicked a really good goal.
Oh, you got the leg thing?
Oh no, not Josh Liddy.
Yeah, no, Marnie Liddy or something.
No, I'm trying to think of McKinlay.
Well, McKinlay's good, yeah.
It's got a lot of speed, but then it's a case of like blokes like is it worth putting like time and
Lewis
him?
Lewis Salopek.
Lewis, that's it. Yeah. Or Louis. But yeah, there's some decisions that need to be made. I mean, unfortunately, Harrison Ram got injured right at the start of the year, and then as he came back from that, he got another injury. So he's had one of those seasons that he's not been able to get to the field, and sort of the changes of football seem to have gone past Brandon Thatcher. So after Alia and Radigalia, we don't have much height in defence. Now, obviously, once Ram's fit and firing, then he probably push into the back line. Yeah. They tried Marshall, but they seem to have moved away from that pretty quickly, in that whilst he's got a great leg, he's been sort of found out in the marking contest aspect from a defensive perspective.
Yeah, didn't he? Yeah.
But again, there's stuff to like about with the Carlton game aside. In each of the other games, there's been a few people that have shown a bit. Even like Christian Moraes, he's still young, and but he looks like he's and that was one of the things Port picked him up for is an elite runner.
Yeah.
And, he's showing that he can bring that to the AFL level. It's just he needs to start getting more of the footy.
Yeah, well, we just started chatting, and I've just figured we'll just press record, and everyone will start just listening to your chat. So basically, for everyone else who's just joined us chatting and just getting into it, g'day. This is the Portress podcast, the monthly podcast with myself and Gavin. Pretty much just thank you for joining in this conversation. So, Gavin, I've just hit record about a minute or two ago, and we'll just start our show like that. And I think this is almost the best way. We probably start every monthly chat. It's almost as if we'll just keep chatting afterwards. We press stop and we'll just chat for the month. We just at times we say good day and we keep in touch in that little chat exchange through the games each week. So, but it is good to catch up with you again for the month and speak to you, mate. And we've got some like we said, the reason for what you were just kicking off and chatting about was just the positives. And it's whilst we've got 4 losses. I mean, scared the shit out of the Crows, and then heartbreak. It took me not like a day or two, just an hour or so, but it took me a while just to recover from that one. That was a hard one. And then a 2-point loss was just like, well, I'm already down. Just kick me again. Why do I care?
Yeah.
Bit grateful after those 2 games that we do a monthly podcast. Surely we can turn it around, but I wasn't really too confident with the Suns. So maybe I had more hopes of us, I think maybe I did say this a month ago that I had more hopes of us kind of jagging wins against maybe the Dogs, possibly the Crows. In fact, to be honest with you, really, even though the Crows were, struggling and not really in great form leading up to and in that game, and even since, really, they are just having a bit of a cough, stop and start kind of a season. Uh, we scared the shit out of them. I really didn't think we'd be that good. I thought their home game, biggest crowd, all that stuff, everything. This is the game that they'll show that why they got to where they were before they crap the bed last September. So I figured just I was so stunned, and in some ways, a couple of hours later, I was saying to myself, "Holy hell! How did we even just get to almost beat them? Like they had to pull out miracle of all miracles. We had to we pushed them to that they where they had to be at their optimum best and play." Just some game, some type of football sometimes that will even surprise the players that are actually doing it themselves, just running on pure, just at their total elite and just, oh my God, it was amazing how they even got there. And there was some poor stuff in our defense, but still, it required the best of them. And I was stunned at that time. Okay. Once that as I say, probably like midnight, kind of hours later, I'm thinking, holy hell, still if we play like that, if we play like that every game, which we're not, but we're in with a chance, like, especially when Berry going to gets that goal. But I think almost we played better to lose by a point than we didn't play as good against the Dogs in some ways. And from my memory, just we played well, but also just
Yeah,
really they weren't great as well as from my memory. And so, yeah,
the
yeah.
Crows game, the first half was pretty scrappy
Mm.
for both sides, and
Showdown feel like that though.
part
Yeah.
of that was skill, part of that was
Mm.
pressure as well. Pressure rating for both sides was pretty high. Um,
Yeah.
and then as the game um, got further into it, yeah, the pressure went up even higher. But then the skills went to that. And like you said, the Joe Berry goal, it's like, oh, you beauty, we've snaffled another showdown. And then, yeah, unfortunately, the heartbreak of them kicking the goal inside the last 90 seconds. We did start slowly against the Bulldogs, and we slowly worked our way into it. And that little patch, no coincidence, literally, it was Zach Butters has been outstanding all season,
Oh
but
yeah. Consistent.
literally it was back to his best at sort of one floating off of his direct opponent, but like so many intercept marks, and we just couldn't get the job done. And uh, Josh Lai, again, has shown that
He's been good.
he is certainly not out of place. So hopefully he can stay injury free. I mean, he did pick up that concussion in that little block of games. The Gold Coast game, we started poorly and we slowly got back into it. And late in the last quarter, should I say, if Joe Berry, if we'd kicked the goal late in the last quarter, we would have been within 8 points. But
Right.
it wasn't me, and Joe Richards, sorry, is who I meant. And then the Suns pulled away and made it a 4-goal game.
Yeah.
But the conditions up there, like there's no other matches where players are cramping. I mean, we had McKinlay having a full body cramp in the last quarter, and at the risk of sounding like I'm making excuses, the whole team was just so flat in the Carlton game, and we started poorly, we started slowly, let the Carlton side dominate us, and we just never recovered. And at no point in time did we look like there was any sort of resurgence or. But Horn Francis and Butters had a bit of a crack in the third, and
Yeah.
a little bit, but then Carlton just went away with the game. So the buys come at a good time. We've picked up a couple of people in the mid-season draft, with 3 players being on the long-term injury list.
Yeah.
we picked up Ruckman in Alex Van Wyck and a forward midfielder who's apparently it's like as what's it, tough as a cat's head.
Good. I heard about. I saw this interview today.
Xavier Baumet, and
Yep.
yeah, people are saying that he was unlucky not to get picked up in the draft.
There you go.
So we'll find out soon enough whether that's true or not.
So,
But hopefully it's another person that we can put some time into. And so,
so Gavin, I've got a couple of questions for you. I guess
sure.
so. A couple of questions that would be probably more over the four games, and just kind of since again we last spoke, and then another kind of question is probably more steered towards the last game we just saw. So let me just kind of kick off with overall, because I guess sometimes we look at the four losses, and before you even worry about the margins and even efforts and locations of like up north or wherever, just on the paper, four losses. Okay, four losses. That's just really, really poor. But after the Bulldogs lost, um, I really had hope in regards to the fact that, and I'm looking again, probably again, you know what I'm like. I'm probably now looking for beyond today, like for the next future games, the next month before we speak again, and then beyond, and for the rest of the season. And so the hope that I had was, boy, we are in every game. We fight, and we do not let the opposition off the leash, and it just we get just annoy the crap out of Hawthorn. Even just, I don't know, there's been other games where when you see, I'm not saying that West Coast are insanely great, amazing, and look forward to discussing with you, the game that's coming up at Optus Oval there. But yeah, no, that game when we lost early in the season and we still just didn't have our shit together, so to speak. You could see play just very new, and the coaches were just still wet behind the ears, relative to we're just trying to figure each other out as a team, and so. That was, but then again, West Coast were competitive, but we were competitive as well. We didn't get smashed. These last two games have concerned me, and I'm seeing I'm concerned about a trend that we could see when we speak next, whatever, just see the next few kind of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games, and I'm concerned that I really hope that there is a genuine refresh team, not just physically, but somehow just wipes the slate clean and can absolutely, if not beat West Coast, at least scare the crap out of them over there. There's I guess they're justified at the moment confidence and belief in not cockiness, but real confidence in that young West Coast team at the moment. And they're not going to be dominating every other team like the Essendon side allowed yesterday. But at the same time, what they're doing is they've been competitive. I think from what I've seen most games, so they're going to be at least very competitive this Saturday night. So I'm really concerned. Are we seeing? My question there is a bit of: Are we seeing? Do you think we're going to see the Port Adelaide, not just this week, but just in the future? Do you think there's a reflection and a bit of a concern that we could see that the last two games as a reflection later in for the remainder of the season, or do you think we are going to? And even though we try, we'll do all the right things off the field. Can you see them working, or do you actually fear potentially going backwards, or just what was more concerning? Because there was a really good sign after those two games, even though there was losses. But the last two games have really concerned me, and not just because of the travel north. It was not. There are some poor signs in the will to really own the forward line. If that young man Xavier Barmett or something, Barmouth,
Yeah.
but if he comes in and mate, there's an opportunity. Have a look at join. I think the other person is pretty good out there so far has been Corey Durden. So if look, you get if the our coaches and selectors are smart enough, you can see the right people who are hungry enough to kind of. We're a side at the moment that not always is it just great to have someone like Mitch Georgiades grab the ball because he's going to potentially miss it if it goes to the ground. We want some really hungry forwards that keep it and lock it in. So we've had that before. We've had the luxury of that and almost taken it for granted, and we just don't have it at the moment as much as we need it. So yeah, it's interesting. I'll kind of look forward to rating our three levels on the ground as well with you as well. But what's your thoughts on that? Just what I'm bringing up there about the overall situation with competitiveness first two games, and then we see a bit of a fall to the wayside there.
Look, there's a few things to that. I mean, if you look right back to our first game of the season against the Kangaroos and how
Yep.
poor the side looked,
Yeah.
a large part of that is the change to the zonal defence that they've brought in this year from more the one-on-one that they've had in previous years,
Yep.
and that in part was that it's something that's new. So North were able to sort of pull it apart, and so that made them look slow and average. I think that last game against Carlton, it was kind of would come full circle in that there was a bit of fatigue, so the getting into the right spots
Hmm.
and those sorts of things wasn't there, which we'd seen in some of the other games. So we were able to take the corridor away from sides, and we were able to work the ball up the ground. So we weren't successful at all in that regard against Carlton.
Mm.
In the middle part of the block of games that we've had, Josh Carr came out and said, "Well, look, it's not the leaders, it's the middle tier that we need to come to the party." I
Yeah.
actually feel like in the last block of games, there was an aspect of the senior players letting the side down at different times.
Yeah.
Vaughan Francis does some fantastic things and could be like an absolute dominant player for a decade. But
Oh,
there's times
absolutely.
where he gets a bit petulant, like he's not happy with something, so he'll shove someone or he'll um, he'll go away from what the team requires him to do. And when he does that's detrimental to the side. Um, Zach Butters busts his ass all the time. Um, but then you've got Mitch Georgiades. His kicking at goal is less than 50%.
That's
And
terrible. Yeah.
it's not, it's, I mean, you'd paying him, he'd be in the top 3 to 5 players at the club for salary.
Mm.
And um, he kicks the difficult goals and misses the easier ones. That to me says it's either his process of going for goal or his mental approach to going for goal,
Mm.
or a combination of the two. And if he was kicking at sort of 65, 70%, as most quality forwards do,
Yeah.
we win 2 of those last 4 games.
Do we ever?
A bit harsh in that, like he's the most hit up forward in the competition, and he leads hard. He good set of hands, but if you're not finishing it, it doesn't hurt the opposition. It doesn't convert it into scoreboard pressure for the opposition. Um,
And it really does it deflate, the players have done all the hard work to get it to his hands. And it really is not something to be taken lightly. I kind of find as an ex-forward, someone who was always wanted to be like Kappa. I think it was Warwick Kappa probably loved Plugger Lockett, even though he wasn't playing for us, And Scotty Hodges was my absolute hero, number one. Port Adelaide, as well as the forward. Like he's the hero of the number one of all my favourite forwards ever that made me want to be a forward.
yeah,
And so as a young kid, I was wanted to be Scotty Hodges. And gosh, just you ask someone and you look at when we had Jay Schultz for us.
yes,
And as good as look, we were a pretty good side when we had him in the side as a player. And gee, if you could look at our side when we've been, but just look at the AFL since '97. If you look at our side when we've always been a very good side, we've had some really good sharp shooters in the side at that time.
yeah.
Jay
Or
Schutz could
or
have
or a
easily,
power forward like Charlie Dixon. He doesn't
yeah,
kick massive amount,
yeah.
but the uh, Port would bomb the ball in not like too much, but he'd be having 2, 3, 4 people. He'd be loving playing football these days. The amount of free kicks he would be getting would be,
Oh,
would be
yeah.
insane.
I I do think Charlie. What we missed always there was another Charlie Dixon. Actually, I don't think he was the giant of all giants. The way he kind of even played,
Yes, yeah,
we needed almost just two big giants, and a lot of sides do have. You know, if you look at the great sides, it might not be even like it's one big giant and then two half giants and stuff. And
yeah,
Charlie didn't have anyone under us. So that's why we just went to Charlie. If we'd had the other second options, and you may
yeah.
say we had other, yeah, no, they weren't good enough. Everyone else was never as good as what
No,
we needed another big giant,
and
really.
that's where Georgiades is uh, a, a good forward, but I guess that with any side you want a great forward, and
Yeah,
the great forward aspect is him converting more consistently because you've got Whitlock who's in his second season
yeah,
is contributing one, two, three goals a game, and for the age that he is and the
yeah,
size that he is, that's fantastic. As you've said, Corey Durden is good for at least a goal a week,
yep,
um, and Tom Anastasopoulos has
yep.
played the two games,
Big,
and
competitive, and
besides having a
exciting.
difficult name to pronounce, he's done some okay stuff.
Yeah.
Um, the
Well,
the
while we're at it with the forward line, you could give me a bit of a rating out of 10. I give it a bit of you know, 4 or 5 because goal shooting is good. You've got, you know, it'd be 2 or 3 if it wasn't for Durden and some others that are showing some good signs. But let me be fair and say, let's say 5.5. You know, yeah, 5.5 to 6, something like that. What's your thoughts?
yeah, yeah. No, no. Look, as my English teacher used to say at school, C plus good effort. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's just a pass. And
Would
again,
you out of the three sort of tiers, midfield, defence, and forwards, would you say they're running third, they're running last in the race with the three?
oh well, yeah. But if you look at when you listen to all the pundits, they say that we've got a pretty like quality midfield. For me,
Yeah,
the midfield's actually been disappointing in games in
I was
that
going to say that we should be
that
better.
um, like the Carlton game, they weren't working it out, but just our setup around the midfield isn't quite
Yeah,
right. In that, can you go with Butters and
yeah.
Horn Francis in the midfield with Drew? Um, I mean, they resorted to they had Joe Richards and Burgoyne in the middle, right in the last quarter, and that's where we actually started to get a bit of run.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so, um, uh, in terms of marks, back to your original question, yes, the forward
yeah.
line probably scores the lowest out
I think so.
of the three. But for me, the biggest disappointment's been that um, our midfield output it varies too much. We can have some like the Geelong game. We could do almost no wrong. Like we chopped them up,
It's
and then
unreal.
we put some pressure on the Crows. We put some pressure on the Bulldogs. But then the Suns have got a good midfield, and we couldn't match it with them. And then the Carlton game, we were cooked, and we just there's we like yes we've got our captain out with a hamstring injury, and it looks like he might not be back for the rest of the year because he's got nerve damage in his leg from the surgery.
Such a
Having said that, Zach Butters had surgery a few years ago and had nerve damage, and then it turned around really quickly. So hopefully the same sort of thing happens.
fingers crossed.
Um,
Fingers crossed.
but we're probably one, maybe two options. They don't have to be
Mm.
A pluses, but we just need some other options to go through the midfield. I mean, and the Crows as much as Porter into Sparrow from Melbourne, and he'd be um, another Joe Richards type that can play
Yeah.
half forward but can play on the ball, which would be of benefit to the side.
Excuse me.
I think the area that we really hurt in is until Whitlock puts on 5 or so plus kilos,
Yeah.
we, we don't have a second ruck. And I know during a game, a second ruck only attends probably 10 centre bounces of 10 run
Yeah.
contest. But during that period of time at the moment, we're getting hurt. I mean, we tried the 2 rucks and it worked okay for a couple of weeks in the 2 weeks where we just lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then Vicentini just contributed very little in the game against the Sun. So then they dropped him for the
Yeah.
Carlton match, and um, him being out of the side certainly didn't make any difference to the overall result. But we just don't have a forward who can ruck. That's kind of what we're lacking.
Be interesting if we go with both Sweet and Vicentini again in Optus Oval. The West Coast got a lot of big talls, and it's a big ground. I think it might be a chance for it again.
They'll certainly consider it. I think
Everyone's rested, and yeah,
the last time we played them, Radicalea wasn't in the side, so that gives us a little bit of extra height and defence.
that's true.
But still, it'll stretch us because they've got three tall forwards.
I don't really know, so it's probably a question to you, if you know, and then we could kind of just to think about it, or maybe have a little look and just reflect on the differences from that last game. What would be, apart from the ground itself, how many players do you think even West Coast have come back? I think there's be some players for them that might have come back, and how many players for us? Uh, how do we look
Look, West
nine
Coast.
rounds later?
So um, just before we look at that, you did ask before about what it looks like for the rest of the season for us.
Yes, of
I
course.
think that the refresh um, should do us the world of good. I would expect that with Josh Carr as the coach and the way that Josh Carr played, that there would be a strong response from the side around effort and energy that they bring. In terms of where the two sides are at now compared to the last time, West Coast have got a lot more confidence in that they've had more wins this season than anybody expected them for the entire season already. And they've got a little bit of spunk and attitude, and everyone seems to be on Harley Reid's the second coming as a footballer. I mean, he loves to go the don't argue and has a bit of chewed about him and a bit of swagger. But again, like if we bring our intent and focus, it doesn't matter like much he's
We
going.
won't have
me.
Lukosius. Interesting. He was playing Lukosius. And I guess even probably was Rosie. When was Rosie? But he was playing. So yeah, I guess it's an interesting. But then again, we may have. Do you think any of those players that we've just recruited will come straight in and play? I think that when I listened to the interview with Xavier today, he hasn't played for about 4 weeks. I think they may put him in the Maggies.
No, both of them would come in through the SNFL. I'd be staggered if either of them came in straight away. I think Van Wyck's more of a bit of a project player. I mean, he is 22, so he's a bit more developed. So he's got the physical attributes to step in straight away if needed. I think that Baymut, with a couple of weeks of training with the squad, has the physical attributes to be able to play at AFL level. It's just, as you've said, he's not had any competitive games for a month, so they want to probably train with the squad and play a couple of SNFL games before they would bring him in. Again, I think it's just the age of the side is pretty young, and so I think that the break came at a good time. I think in the future the AFL needs to look at, if you play Darwin, that your bye should be after you finish the games in Darwin, and if that means moving the Darwin games back by a week or two so that it coincides with the bye, then that's what they need to do, because sides are just too, look at the Suns. They coughed up 7-goal lead at half time.
Yeah, no, I agree with
you. North Melbourne. So,
bye after.
And again, it's not solely because of Darwin, but I don't imagine the Suns would be doing that too often against many sides, let alone it being the North. So,
hey, I've got a question for you. There's a bit of a fun one. You probably saw this throughout the week, so see if you know it or not. But look, before the round 12 just gone, round 12, at the end of round 11, Port Adelaide were 14th on the ladder. Where were we last year? would you say we've gone backwards, or we're actually strangely somehow gone forwards? Where would you say?
I would, yeah. Look, that's a very good question. I remember that we didn't start last year very well, and people early on in the season were saying, "Oh, time to like this handovers rubbish and kick Ken Hinkley to the curb kind of thing." So I would say that we are there or thereabouts, maybe a win better off this year than we were last year.
Yeah, it's actually funny. So I actually kind of would say before I saw this this image of the two ladders, I would have somehow just said just because and maybe giving this whole out and you it's probably been the theme of this season for me is it's his first year, Carr's first year, and losing. We hardly have had Sam Pepper. There's a lot of new chemistry, of new players right along up and down the ground from defence and to attack. We've got team that is. I'm not sure even how much this team is going to stay nucleus for a long period of time, and I hope Josh, because he might kind of just have looking at the whole team, might just go in couple of years' time. Apart from a couple of premium blue ribbon players.
Yeah,
I can you give me a chance to be the premiership coach for like a triple premiership? But you know what? 60 to 70% of this team is not even on this field. We don't even have these players yet.
yeah,
Let me get me. That could just be something happens, and it's just that might be the key to our success. Is just that really how many players right now in our team are going to be part of the next premiership for Port Adelaide?
yeah. No, well, it's
Let's
a good
be,
question.
let's be
Yeah,
brutally honest, all the way to kind of loquacious. Really, is he? He's not 18 years of age, and I don't think. I don't think we're in a team. I think Louis Salopek is part of our next premiership. That's how. That's how long it might just kind of take a little while
yeah,
for
yeah,
Carr kind of. Yeah, realistically, we could be 6, 7, 8 years time. In 10 years time, there's a well, what are we in 2026? So there's a kid that's what 12 years of age right now. We don't even know who he is, or a son of another one of the players, and or something. There's a maybe Burgoyne's late in his career when he gets the premiership, bit like his old man did.
yeah, yeah. Well,
That's almost a bit of a
Cochrane brothers playing together in the grand final.
Yeah, Cochrane brothers playing together, and Jace has got two or three kids, and one of his kids go and for his first and only premiership. So who knows? And that's kind of like I realistically think, I mean, I'm talking like Matt, are you saying that like Butters won't be part of the next premiership? God no. Look, if long as if he's going out next year, no. But if he's also going to be just here still for another couple more years, and he's not really going to be here forever. I don't know. No, I don't honestly know. If he's going to be here for the rest of his career, well, then again, he could be someone who gets a premiership potentially late in his career. If it takes again, if it realistically look around, you tell me right now who's playing in our team as part of our next premiership.
Well, yeah, like you've said, I guess it's the younger people like your Whitlocks and
Yep.
maybe even a Josh Lai. I mean, they're late teens, early 20s.
Yes.
Um, then that would be the Cochranes and Zemplis Pilot and
Yep.
uh, the yeah. Look, who knows
Yeah.
what Mitch Georgiades' plans are for
That's
himself.
that's
Um,
realistic.
Harrison Ram. So look, there's
Would Aaliyah be part of it? Maybe not.
look, he's signed on for next year. I think that
Well,
he's
when do you think we win it? When do you
yeah.
think we win it? Too? When do you think we're competitive and going to be like realistically?
Oh look, I think within each year the not knowing one who's staying, who's going to, what kind of run. I mean, if you had a run of injuries like Richmond's had, then it
Mm,
wouldn't matter if you're the
that's
if you're
right.
the best side in the competition or not. You're basically struggling to field a
Right.
side.
That's right.
But let's say you have a decent run with injuries and you recruit the pants off of it. there's each part of the ground. Port have got some developing players that have shown that they're more, like not just capable of playing at AFL level, but capable of playing AFL level at a high level.
That's right.
It's about if you look at the sides that Port has had when we've really pushed under Ken Hinkley and even preceding him, it's you don't have many, if any, like absolute standout superstars, but you've got a quality team where there's a few people that end up making All Australian, but you have a look at around it, as Josh Carr has already said, it's the middle tier are the people that are the key aspect. So when would they be competitive? Look, I would expect that once there's two things. One is the betting down the game plan. That's usually year 3, year 4. So we're talking about hopefully a bit more progression next year. And then the year when Tasmania comes into the competition would be where we start to see the climb up the ladder. And again, there's so many variables. There's a whole new side coming in that's going to have pick 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. And that's where we hope to get Pilot and Salopek. And look, getting key position players is going to be exceedingly hard. So that's why sites like Port are investing time in Harrison Ram, like over 200 centimetres, a lot of speed. Apparently a very good learner. Just hopefully they can get him on the track and keep him fit. And there's a key defender there, bang. And Whitlock, key defender, key forward. And
you've got your pillars, you want to keep them.
So, look, I'd say 2028, we should be moving up the ladder.
I agree with you. I look at that as well, and I love the way you even just mentioned. there is a getting to know the game plan, and I look, we could, there could be spikes, and next year suddenly we kind of this time next year we're in the top 3 or 4, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about top 1 or 2 and into the end of the year type stuff that we saw from Hinkley at that. And even when you go, if we're at this time when we saw 20. Imagine we were doing this podcast in 2013 when Ken started. So what do we see? So imagine Josh kind of I don't see that we're going to be this year in an elimination final against Collingwood style at the MCG like 2013. I don't think we've got the same energy. Some of the injuries are there. We just didn't have that same energy that Kenny had when he came in at 2013, beginning of I think it was beginning of 2013. Wow, it was so Josh has somehow not been afforded that same kind of luxury there. But then again, we've got such a good side, and maybe things just turn right that we could be, again, competitive and be at the top next year. But I want to say, thanks for getting to my understanding of my question, because it is a 2028 thing. Hey mate, it's 26 and 20. It's not 2 years time. It is only 2 years time. I think 28 starts, and then maybe 29 is when. Some signs in 28, but 29, 30 for me is where we are. Hopefully, again, we've got a side that is just like, every game is we expect to win, and every side fears us. And, the top sides that get feared by other sides, they might not have a bit of a fear, but we're in that mix with the top 2 or 3 sides again in the whole comp. And for a not like extended period, we've not just kind of got a whole lot of old guys with a side that's, we're doing well, but next year, look, it's just going to fall off and they're all 30-year-olds. No, I think there is something. How can you do that, manage that? Port Adelaide can do it well. You've got Tassie coming in. It's going to be tough but there's ways that we can do it. We've got the good recruiters and people behind the scenes that can figure that out. So, no, that's an interesting discussion. Chat about that.
When Ken came on board as well, though, don't forget that the club was on its knees, one on the field, but like 2 off the field. Whereas where we were at, like, the expectations are a lot higher. But financially, the club is in a way better position now. So,
Mm.
yeah, look, again, the Western Bulldogs have had five wins of less than a goal this
Yeah.
season.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've had 3 losses of less than a goal. If you flip them on their head, like we're then floating around sort of the 8, 9, 10 position, and the Bulldogs are where we're at the moment. So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of luck about it, but it's about the consistency of the team, which is what gets you those that the close wins because of the team cohesion and those sorts of things.
Now, my question to you would be: we've done the forward there. Before we kind of move on to, because I think we've probably talked a little bit about the review of the last month. Before we kind of move on to the remaining, the next 4 games before we meet again, I guess one of the things I guess I wanted to discuss there was just the rating of the other, midfield and the defence. And I would probably say the best, leading the pack in our team overall. Probably, you give the trophy, number one trophy, to the defence coach and the defenders at the moment. They're probably working overtime at times as well. And then midfield probably just going second before the such a poor performance by our forwards at the moment. So yeah, but midfields again, you're right. They should be number one out of the top out of the 3 tiers, but they defenders are outranking them based on not only their performance, but as you say, just some of the gaps that we're seeing in the midfield's potency at the moment. So if you wanted to just give a rating on both midfielders and defenders and have a little discussion about comparisons and
Oh yeah, look,
just interesting chat about it, go for it.
again with the forwards, um, yeah, look, there's the little bit light on in terms of the key aspects as we've talked about. In terms of defence, given the injuries, like Zerk Thatcher had a very disrupted pre-season, and since then he's not been able to break into the side.
That's right.
Brady Galea had an injury, so then it was Marshall, and then Marshall got an injury, so it's been Aaliyah, and then Lockie Jones, and then Farrell and
When you name all these players, all their form has been probably better. It's improved better over the course of the year, but some of those players have had up and down seasons as well.
yeah, look, there's been a couple that have been like, I mean, it's um, Darcy Byrne-Jones has gone back to the half-back line,
Mm.
and like, don't get me wrong, there's been occasions where he's made some poor decisions, which you'd like, well, hang on, he's an experienced player, but conversely, his reading of the play and the support and pressure that he brings is something that you like um, uh, from an experienced player. Um, Lockie Evans,
Mm.
his this is his third year, like his first season after being a mid-season pickup was good. Last year he had a bit of a
So
downer,
who's
and
this?
his
Logan Evans or
Logan Evans. Sorry, I said Lockie.
Logan?
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's
sorry.
right. Logan.
Um,
Yeah.
his season this year, he's sort of on the upward trajectory again.
Yeah, he's been
Um,
the last couple of games.
so yeah, look, the defences that Josh Lai has rolled through as well.
Liked him a
Um,
lot.
so yeah, look, there's some things to like about the defence. Again, there's times where, like against the Suns, we were stretched a bit because we just lack of height, but
Mm.
we defensively managed to do well. And in part, that's the defence, but there's also some of the contribution from the midfield. But then there's other times where the midfield's been like lacking, and the opposition have been able to come in quickly, and defensively, it really stretches us. But yeah, agree. The defence is ahead of the forwards,
Yeah.
and then the midfield. That's like, I mean, any side that's got Zach Butters in their midfield is going to be considered
Yeah.
a quality midfield. And then you've got Horn Francis when he's up and running.
Yeah.
Willem Drew is
Yeah.
fairly consistent. Although I reckon this is
Yeah,
probably his worst season for a while.
I
Even though
agree.
he's still a positive contributor.
Yeah,
Um,
he's been more impactful, yeah, in the past, yeah.
but I think Port are still trying to find the right wing combination. Like the wings
Right.
are an important like link from the backs to the forwards, and you want your wings to be people that one can compete in the air,
Mm.
but two can also hit a target like in the forward line. And so we're rolling it like we've got McKinlay and Weir, and both of them are like relatively new game wise.
Mm.
Weir's been in the AFL system for like he came from GWS, just he couldn't break into the side.
Yeah, yeah.
There's aspects of his game that are good.
I've
It just his lack of height. It's like
to say
is an issue, and because he's not
he
very
doesn't have a wow factor. He doesn't have. He's not really fast. He doesn't have a really super strong kick. I'm not. It's not. He's way better than I'll ever be as a footballer. Don't get me
no,
wrong.
no. But comparing him
He's a
to
great
other
footballer. He's
positions,
got a great
yes,
physique. But I'm waiting for him because he looks like an elite footballer. There's something kind of he's got a good physique and stuff. But I'm waiting for him to then just sprint and do something elite and insane.
yeah,
But like it's like do something. But I guess there's only one Connor Rosie or there's only one Jason von France. Well, why can't he? I will say there's someone like you and McKinlay that's just breaking lines and breaking tackles and stuff. So just Jacob Weir is just probably a little bit just doesn't have the tissue fiber kind of twitchy fastness that some other players do, and
yeah,
he's
yeah,
yeah maybe GWS saw that and we kind of yeah no it's a shame, but he also I've been quite excited by Richards. Joe Richards has been impactful and done the good stuff as well.
yeah.
So
I think he finished third in last year's best and fairest, and
mm,
again, he's such a hard worker.
mm,
Um, it's interesting. Joe Berry was seen as being having the best of the pre-seasons,
yeah
and there's little bits that he shows,
yeah
but
again
it's
yeah.
probably not enough.
Well, the
Again, he's
consistency
still
every
very young.
side. Kane Farrell, there's a lot of players that are just
Yes, yeah,
almost every player, I guess, apart from Butters, and you just can't be. There's be one or two players in our side that has been really consistent. Like you said, Durden. There's players that just can be reliable and clean hands, just hit targets, just
yeah,
that they're
yeah,
really good. But then there are just a lot of our players are off. Even some of the most talented players at times. You wouldn't put your house entirely on DBJ every time at the moment, and just because of just where the team's at. So he's
yes, yeah,
he's elite and incredible, but then he'll fumble the ball one time. And Leah will do that as well, and we're just at a stage where we're still. I don't know what that is. It's rough around the edges. It's just a lack of. Just I don't know where what it is, and they're not robots. There's human, so confidence plays a part, and
yeah,
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 so yeah, so there's a and a sense of belonging, and just once you get it, you look at what's happening over in Fremantle, beating Brisbane,
yeah,
11 wins. And that every player right now there go down and they get over hit the jackpot at the lottery or lottos or something. Go and
yeah,
play pokies and win a grand of the pokies in 5 minutes. So just everything turns to gold. I know that feeling. I've been in whatever situations, just work sport. I'm sure we've all been in a situation. Most of us we've been in a fortunate situation, and Frio at that situation right now. And I don't say that we're in that Essendon dark despair.
no,
We've
no,
we've got a competitive side at times, but we're in a situation where we're seeing a loss, and all four of our losses we've just seen in the last month I can still see little positives. The Joe Berry kind of goal before the next goal from Cook at the showdown. Well, that's still, let's not dismiss the brilliance to kind of get to the point where we scared the crap out of them with seconds to go there. And we Dogs are not a bad side. Look what they've been doing. And so I guess you say positives. Gold Coast are a very, very good side. Clearly going to be a competitive side this year. So there's a whole and look at the Dogs now at seven, the ladder, and I don't know. So and Carlton mate, three. You're right. Like once Voss is gone, everyone's now kind of just tipping them for every game as well, and so. There's a lot to be said about, I guess, momentum, and it's interesting. Before we move on to those next four games and discussing it, um, being a bit of a film connoisseur, I think Much Ado About Marshall is probably a discussion on Todd Marshall. What's your thoughts on, the dilemma of his going back in defence and forward and yeah, what's your thoughts on Toddy before we discuss one other person and then move on?
Look, I think there was some merit in looking at him in defence.
Yeah,
He's got very good foot skills. He reads the play well.
yeah,
The problem is there's aspects or facets of his game from a defensive point of view where
yep.
he's not like he's only just learning what it's like to be a defender. His whole career's been as a forward.
No, I
Um,
agree.
but you look at Miles Bergman. Miles Bergman this year struggled because he's got into a lot of different positions, and then they said, "Oh, hang on." Prior to him with his toe tendon injury, let's put him in a position. And as
Mm,
soon as they put him into defence and they said, we're playing you as a defender, that was his best game that he'd had. Todd Marshall isn't a power forward.
mm.
Um, he does a lot of things off the ball to create opportunities. Charlie Dixon loved playing with him because of the fact that he would open up space for him to be able to
Yeah.
get into. So there
What's your
seems to
thought about Todd Marshall being in the midfield with Jason Horne-Francis and Butters there, and him just being a midfielder? He's not in the ruckman. Maybe he becomes
yeah.
maybe he is the ruckman slash
I,
midfielder as well.
I,
But
I would be happy to see him tried as a wingman because
yeah,
he's apparently got a big motor on him
yeah,
and he's 200 centimeters tall and
yeah,
that'd be a great marking option out wide and he uses the ball well. Does he have
agree.
top end speed? That might be a knock on him for that,
Sure.
but you can play him as a high half forward and get him to push up the ground and work backwards and forwards. There's a lot of knockers on him. I mean, I can remember
Sure, no.
going out to the Magpies and uh, not a similar player in any way, shape, or form, but Rowan Smith. He'd kick some like legendary goals and have some like just super games, and then he'd have a few weeks where it was quiet, and then everyone was
Like
not every
back.
large number of the crowd were bagging him, going, "Oh, where have you gone? Disappeared," and all this sort of stuff, and then bang, he'd pop up again.
Remember that?
And Todd Marshall is like that. And is it an X factor? Not quite.
Mm.
But there's some games where he provides options, and there's lots of people that knock him. It's kind of like the Arnott's family assorted pack. There's
Yeah.
a biscuit in there that you go, I hate that biscuit. Well, you get rid of that biscuit, and then suddenly there's a new biscuit that everyone hates. So it's you've got to figure out what you're trying to achieve
Yeah,
as the side. And I personally think that the side is better when a fit and firing Todd Marshall's in it.
I agree. Yeah, a good Todd Marshall, exactly.
So,
What is
but
the ingredient for that? Is that so you got to see Mitch Georgiades become the Dixon that kind of where they can actually blend again, and he's in the forward line, or like I said, I feel like he could be the link between the great the defenders. If you got Ram and then the pillar in the midfield, as you say, probably not even have to be and take over a midfielder's role,
yeah,
but yeah, I do like the pace of two quick kind of wingers. So it
yeah,
depends on each game, and just if he can say to Josh Carr, hey, you know, I can be giving you my optimum and my best, and it's going to be contributable. It's not going to be. I'm not going to be a waste of space in any area, and I love that. Westhoff would just say, "Yeah, where do you want me?"
yeah, yeah,
And anywhere in the whole ground, I
yes,
will be awesome and dominate and really contribute and be a great teammate. And he was reliable in defence, being frustrating on the wing or in the midfield, or obviously being a pretty exciting forward at times. Can he get to that point? Maybe let's hope, because he's got the talent. Before we move on to the next, and to the home straight, obviously do our little predictions and chat about our next 4 games. I do want to just say, and let's just kind of get it out of the way real quickly, because it should just be once. We'll talk once a month, as we, if it was every week, we probably wouldn't talk every week about him. But Zach Butters, are you feeling a little bit more confident about him being here beyond this season, or is there a little bit of a feeling right now of just appreciating every game, because the gut feeling is that really he is probably going to be out of here this end of this year?
Look, I think the all of the media shows have like space to fill, and so the fact that he's not sort of clear on what he's doing, where he's going. I mean, they're all saying he's gone, he's off to the Western Bulldogs, but now North Melbourne are chatting to him, and the Cats have got a and they're into him as well. I think at the end of the day, like he needs to make the decision that what is best for him. And then once he's made that decision, then Port needs to make the decision on what's best for them. Yeah. So, I mean, a player can say, I want to go to Club X or I want to stay. And if they choose Club X, then Port need to say, well, this is what we expect in return. And if they say, well, we're not going to give that up, then it's not about Port shopping him around. But it's like, well, look, this club's not coming to the party. We're not going to stop you from going, but this is where our preference is, here or here, for the returns that we get. So it's a case of, like, he wants to go, and they're saying the Bulldogs is closest to home. Well, then Geelong's not too far away.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then any Melbourne side should be an option, because, like, driving around to Mum's being 35 minutes or an hour and 5 minutes, it's still just up the road. And the reason for him returning to Victoria, if he does, is to be closer to family. And it's, again, Port need to make it a win-win situation. I personally would love to see him stay and be a one-club player. And there's a couple of times where he said, look, I need to try and assist players like Boki and other players before me have, which makes it, look, you kind of go, well, look, is he saying that because he wants to stay, or is he saying that just because that's how he feels for the rest of this year? So, like you said, let's appreciate him for the player that he is and the effort that he gives week in, week out. I mean, with the exception of the Carlton game, he has been he's the first player to be in the top 5 players from a ranking perspective in first, what is it, 13 rounds. So, first 10 rounds, he achieved that. The 11th round, he didn't quite get there. But he's the first player to have done that. So he's having a fair crack of the whip.
All right, mate. Well, let's get into it. Let's look at the next game. So we've got round 13, West Coast over at Optus Stadium. Oh, excuse me. We're at home the following week on a Saturday again. So that's a Saturday night at West Coast. They've got 2 games at West, it's a double header at Optus Stadium. I think there's another game on Freo playing either on a Friday or a Saturday or something like that.
North Melbourne have sold their games, so they're over at Bunbury, I think is the...
All right, Bunbury, that's it. That's it. Yeah, and they had today was WA Day as well, so and both teams are going really well. It's exciting times in Perth.
Yes.
But West Coast are going to be really tough. I think it's going to be a tough game. I wouldn't expect us to win it, but what I would expect us is to come out far more competitive, fresh, and far more competitive than we've been in the last few games. So maybe we'll scare them, and we own one after the game early in the year. But I think we'll be competitive, because West Coast can show some fragility and weakness. And
they're a young side, so again,
they get the momentum going.
The problem from the first time we played them was we started really well,
Mm.
and then it looked like we got a little bit ahead of ourselves, and then West Coast got momentum up, and we couldn't halt it. So yeah, look, agreed. It's a difficult game given that West Coast have got a lot more confidence than the last time we played them. But there's no reason why after a break that and to freshen up that we can't like stick it to them
No,
and
be
and
competitive.
bag the win. Yeah,
Yep. And when a game that I just fear that could at home against Sydney Saturday night, round 14. Just Sydney are just such a good side at the moment. So we would have to be playing at our absolute best. Again, this is a season where we can lose this by a couple of points and we could win it as well and just scare them. And who knows what happens between now and then for Sydney. I'm not sure if they've got a bye or they
I
whether,
should watch the video from the last time they played Sydney at
um,
Adelaide Oval, where we beat them by over 100 points.
that's right. Maybe we're watching that like
Yeah,
Sunday instead of the replay. But like no, again, this is a season where do we kind of predict that the next four games that we kind of preview are all games where we have a side that is like the team that has gone in the park and whether they've won or lost, the games we've been really competitive in. Can you see that we will be if we could just without being overview of all four games, let's have a look. Sydney, I think again, that's a game where I could get concerned that Sydney is just such a good side. We've come back from WA. Uh,
yep, yep.
yeah, we could get, but we're at home, so this it's a bit of a mixed emotions of mixed feelings. We could have a good quarter, and maybe it's just an honourable loss. So yeah, we could be 0-2, realistic, but we could have been 1-1 in there. Then we go to a side where I think whether it's in Collingwood, round 15 again. What's with these we got four Saturday night games in a row coming up. They're all literally like what 8:15 is the that's my time, so I think. So looking at 7:45 for South Australian viewers, the West Coast game, and then every other game's at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Adelaide time. So that is a Collingwood game, MCG. I'm not sure if you could even split these two sides, whether they're MCG or at Adelaide Oval, because Collingwood just not have not been the impressive Collingwood. In fact, to really try to overinflate and just do all the heavy lifting for as commentators for Collingwood this year, it's been just so much love for Pendlebury.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
understandably, if you need to fluff that team up at a time when then really they're 11th on the ladder and they're not being terrible, but they certainly haven't been the kind of giant killers that they've been in the past. And also, there is a bit of a concern about, I guess they're aging and they're getting older in the team. And yeah,
Losing Jamie Elliott's a massive
oh,
loss for him
oh,
because he's kind of anywhere
so
from
good.
3 to 5 goals a game for them. So
Yeah, against
it,
us as well.
their
But
biggest problem
Saturday
is their
night,
forward line. So
give a couple of goals. How many goals do you give him? Two or three goals being at the MCG.
yeah,
But we'll see how we go by then. I don't know. It's an interesting. Just Collingwood again. We could be 0-3, but that's a game where I think we've got a bit of a 50-50 chance of maybe 40-60. And then we go to a showdown, and we own one, and I believe that we'll be very competitive. We may lose it again by a point, but at the same time we may win it by a point. I have full belief that what as it looks at the ladder right now, they're eighth and we're 16th. But yeah, as we know, stiff. You know what the proverbial when we kind of play again that play against them. So that's my prediction that I'm probably looking at realistically again. If we just fall in a heap and we could easily lose all four games, but also there are games to win there. And I think if you kind of look at any games, they're definitely going to lose. There's going to be a loss, but you don't know right now. There's going to be losses at the end of the four games. Which ones were they? Most likely, Sydney's probably going to get the better of us. Probably the showdown. Most likely, Adelaide to get the better of us. I think, even though it's a home showdown, what's that? That doesn't mean diddly. And Yeah, my concern, I think we've also got one of those weird teams that we could surprise the crap and beat Collingwood by 50 points. They sure they have an injury too. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's
Mm.
my prediction next 4 weeks of just it's probably not rock solid. I don't have any absolute crystal ball kind of things, but just we could also really surprise and just have some moments. And I think I was going to say something before, which I'm not sure if I elaborated on, but I will just be clear on it before, is that we're in a team at the moment that is, regardless of losing or whatever, we still have little moments of excitement when we see future players, the Ewan McKinleys break tackles and do exciting things. So that's my thoughts. So you can close out the potty with your thoughts on the next 4 weeks, Gav.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty similar. I think, look, we're underdogs in those four games.
Mm.
Um, the most difficult game, arguably, in terms of the skill set and the form line of the opposition, is the Sydney game, even though it is at home. Um,
Mm.
yeah, the showdown promises to be um, very much a sort of a snakes and ladders kind of game, with it being a big risky game for the Crows, because their
Mm.
next 4 to 6 weeks is actually pretty tough.
Right.
And
Okay.
if in the next 3 weeks for them, if they kind of drop two, then
Okay.
Nix is very much under the pump for
Mm.
that match up against Port. And yeah, we owe them more than one. And again, the showdowns
Right.
are a genuine 50-50 game. Um, I again, it's several weeks away, but I actually like our chances against Collingwood.
Mm.
Um, like
Yep.
you've said, they're a bit aging, but their forward line, and famous last words, but their forward line is pretty skinny,
Mm.
and you've got Membry and McStay, who uh, they'd struggle to walk even into the Essendon side, I reckon.
Yeah, I see
Um,
what you're saying.
so
Of course.
I think that those two games um, are
Great.
winnable, as is the West Coast game. It's our first game after a bye,
Yep.
and generally um, Port come back well after buys, and that's we're talking over the last 13 years with when Ken Hinkley was there. So we'll see what Josh Carr can produce. All four games, I'd suggest we're the underdog, but there's
I've got a chance.
there's three
Underdog is
games
good.
that are
Underdog is good.
all four games we could win, but there's three that I think are definitely winnable.
Yep.
Showdown's 50-50. So let's hope that when we catch up in a month, rather than two close losses, and the last game being sort of let's quickly
Yeah.
close to that one and move on to the next one. Hopefully, we can flip the narrative and have two close wins, and make it a game where the Crow supporters go, well, let's quickly erase that one from our memories. So,
So,
um,
I got a question with that notice. Something I've just thought of is, what's your in the next month? What are we going to talk about in the next month? Are we going to be like far out McKinley? What hell? Remember that 6 goals he kicked against? Or are we going to talk about like the Jack Whitlock 6, 7 goals that he kicked against the Crows last week in our just before we do our next podcast? And are we going to talk about Georgiades finally being kicking straight? Are we going to be talking about whatever like Butters is someone falling away? Kind of like I guess if we talk positive, like what let's not be thinking negatively. What's some exciting things we could be
oh,
hopefully
look, if we're getting wins, I'd
yeah.
suggest that that's on the back of Georgiades going from just under 50 to into the high side of 60s.
Mm.
So that would be a positive. If we're getting the ball in the forward line that amount, I would hope that Joe Berry can start to be
Yeah.
sort of a more of a hit than a miss. And so there'd be a couple of games where we go like, wow, like, yeah, he's starting to take the next steps.
I'll pick up on Drew. I think if I in the next month said how good was Willem Drew's last 4 games, and we've kind of been a bit more competitive, and we won a da da da. And I think him nullifying, player X and player Y, you know what I mean? I think that's been something that some of the players have been let off the leash, and whilst he's got clean skills and stuff, his ability to really to
Yeah,
to to quell players' potency in our opposition. He has been able to blanket players like that, and I
yeah.
think and it's to fans like us, we notice that stuff. So no, it's interesting
Yeah.
to yeah. I think
I'm
that's
not
a good one.
sure which game they've got him penciled in to come back for, but two things. One, Ollie Wines had probably his worst
Oh,
statistical game
terrible
against
game,
Carlton for many years.
big
His
time.
his he's got a
I'm very
rumbling
concerned
knee,
about him.
which he struggled to come up from, and so they made the decision to try and nurse him through the game, and that didn't go very well.
I hope he
Um,
doesn't have to call retirement. That was something I was wanting to
he's
discuss.
a proud player. Oh, look, I
I
think
hope
that
it
you'll see
doesn't.
the best of him in the next bit.
Fingers
Um,
crossed. I hope so. I hope so. I hope so.
what here's a headline. I don't know when Power Pepper's due back, but I
Mhm.
hope that it's maybe the Collingwood game.
Yep.
But then he plays the Showdown, and the headline being Bash Brothers reunite and put crows to the sword or
Love
something
it.
like that.
Love it.
That'd
No, I
be
think,
that'd be like
Burgoyne having a
Power
great
Pepper makes
month.
successful. Yeah.
Sorry, can you please repeat what you just said just at the end there?
Oh no, I just hope that Power Pepper makes a successful return,
Yeah,
just in the sense of that he's able to finish the season strongly,
that'd be
and
nice, wouldn't it?
that the injuries are in the rearview mirror for him, so to speak.
That would be a real good one. I think there's a player. There's Yeah, obviously, some of the players we've just got from the mid-season draft would be nice to see them be really good. But I'd like to see kind of Harrison Ram be by the end of the year be a consistent player on our side and be really really good and be start to show good signs. Yeah, it'd be just great by the end of the year to see Connor Rosie get back in the park and play. But as you say, he's now. But then it's a funny. He's also kind of got the Gavin Wanganines about him, where he can wake up one day and he's 100% great, and
Yes, yeah,
like, yeah, bit of gumbo about him.
that's would, yeah.
Mate, I think that might be the good way to finish. Yeah, yeah. So we've got one more podcast before then. I chuff off in mid-July. I'm out of here, and I'm taking my laptop with me. So if there is a chance, and we'll see just how adaptable you are with times, and maybe we get a chance to grab a quick 20 minutes, half an hour, and chat. And basically I'm away for 5 weeks exactly, pretty much, overseas in Europe. So somewhere by what was it, mid August, I will be in Edinburgh, probably somewhere in Rome, somewhere like that in Scotland. So might do a quick podcast from somewhere where we are. There's no reason why we couldn't give a chance at it. So we'll do a chance to chat and see where things are at then. But before then, we've got one more of these where I'm still back in Oz. As I said, the end of that fourth. So that'll be their 4 games. So that will be round. If we can just do that again. So we're looking at
Around 16, so somewhere between the end of June and the start of July
yeah.
is the next one.
Yeah, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Yeah, around 16. So 17 we've got just for the rest of the year. We've got North at home on round 17 on the 5th of July. St Kilda away. In round 18, 19, home against the Dockers. That'll be a nice, challenging one. And funny enough, so when I'm in Telford in Birmingham over for this Karate World Cup in UK, on that Sunday that I'm still at the tournament, that's the day that I would have been at a Seaport Live at the Gabba
But yeah,
against a struggling Brisbane. I tell you what, I look forward to maybe that will be, I guess I'll probably do a podcast with you early in July, and we'll probably preview those 4 games, and then when we do our August kind of a chat, that will be post that game against Brisbane. And I
yes,
tell you, Brizzy, the way they're going at the moment,
yeah,
they are struggling. We've got then Giants and Sydney. Melbourne and Essendon to finish, which will be fun. Yeah, that Essendon game. Okay, so that's when I just get back around that time. So that is that is going to be yeah, some big wins there and some potential big losses as well. I guess that's the beauty of this season, isn't it? The unpredictability of where we're at. But
Yes.
yeah, all right, mate. So no, thank you very much. I'll wrap that up there. Thank you very much for chatting with me again for the
No,
Portress
thank
podcast.
you. Yeah.
Is there anything else that we maybe did I overlook anything that's happened kind of on or off the field? There's been kind of
Only like
in memoriams. No one's passed away. Is there anything?
no. Just the women's side of things. They've got a new
Yes.
coach and they've
The new
started their
coach.
pre-season.
Who's that? New coach. Let's give a bit of a. She's got the
Treatment.
power
Yeah,
promo.
yeah. Well, yeah. I can't remember his name off the top
His
of my
name
head.
or someone else? All right.
He came out. He was a Carlton assistant, and
Okay.
the side love him and have gotten like more enthusiasm, and they're training hard, and they've finalised their coaching squad. So there's a few minor tweaks there, but yeah, we can look at that when we crack into the She's Got the Power podcast.
Yeah, we'll do that. Absolutely. But no, that's good, mate. Thank you very much for chatting with me. I'll see you in a month's time to do another review and a preview of the
Indeed.
Port Adelaide Footy Club for 2026.
No worries. Thank you.
All right, mate. Thanks very much. And thanks very much for listening and watching, guys. And until next month,
Go the power.
go the power.
And they could never